Hey guys, it's Kwana back again with another review, and it is middle of the day, Monday, and as many of you, I have been at home all night long digesting what Issa Rae gave us on last night's season 4 finale of Insecure. I'm in my feelings. I watched the episode twice already. I'm probably going back and watch it again. I'm somewhat speechless, but since I'm here, let's go ahead and let's just talk about it. Okay, so first, let's just do a quick little recap. I always say a quick little recap, but you know it's not going to be a quick recap because I'm going to stop along the way and I'm going to tell you what I think. So if you are ready to get into this, do me a favor, click the like button, click subscribe, and let's just go ahead and dig in. I'm over here looking like, what do I hear? I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's the dog. All right, so anyway, last night, first and foremost, HBO, we need y'all to do better about advertising when y'all gonna decide to change the times of programs, okay? Because here it is, I done been sitting, I done got my little drink, I done got my relaxation, the kids are in bed, I'm ready for my show to start, and I was even watching a little documentary, and I said, I'll come back to this, pause, let me go to HBO now. I see a little thing says season finale tonight. I'm clicking on the button, where is my show? Go into the discussion group on Facebook. Everybody else is like, where's the show? Finally somebody's like, oh, the show doesn't start until 10:20. When were y'all gonna let us know? Okay, so that's first and foremost. Get it right next time. Secondly, if you're gonna push back the show for a whole 20 minutes, give us at minimum 40 minutes. Give us 10 extra minutes of show. Why are we still having this discussion about Insecure? Like, at the bare minimum, Issa, I'm gonna need you to do better, girl. You are my girl. I'm gonna ride with you because, you know, I see you doing some things in the world and I'm down for it. But like, if we have to put up with these 30-minute episodes along the way, give us 10 extra minutes in the season finale. Give us 30 minutes, an hour, please, something. Because you know you're gonna make us wait a whole 18 months before we get a new season of this anyway, especially with Miss Corona out here showing her tail. So now we're gonna have to wait a whole another year for probably another season anyway. Like, sis, don't do us in these streets like this, okay? I'm gonna need you to do better. All right, so finally the show starts. So it picks up. Issa's at a little flea market, little marketplace, asking about some flowers, what have you. Up walks Lawrence. And so she's trying to find out what happened. I guess he must have just got a call about the job. And he's like, I got the job. I'm about to be a trolley ninja. So, they celebrate. Hey. And so all of a sudden we see his face drops and he's like, it starts to dawn on him. Okay, well, if I'm going to San Francisco, what's going to happen with us? And Issa has learned her lesson. She's discussing, she's having conversation, she's expressing how she feels. Can we pause for a moment and appreciate the maturity? She's like, San Francisco is 45 minutes away by flight. And, if things keep going well, who knows? And he's like, what? You might be willing to move? And she said, yeah, I might be willing to do that for you if things are going well. So y'all know, if y'all saw my last video, I wasn't really here for the whole Lawrence and Issa thing anyway, because I really wanted girl to go solo and do her own thing and be her own boss and really get to know herself without a man. I guess that's what they tried to make her little hold'em phase supposed to be about. But I feel like if you're in a hold'em phase, you still, need a man to satisfy you in that way, then are you really taking the time to get to know yourself? I digress. It was a cute moment. It was cute. It was like, oh, in my feelings a little bit. So they did the jump. So we jump over to Molly's little behind over here at the her little work function with Andrew. Andrew got his little G'd up outfit. He was looking handsome. So all of a sudden they playing guess the coworker game. And so we pick up Torian's little stank behind. And then up comes BJ. And I was like, she wrong for this because she introduced that man as BJ. Knowing her behind in episode 4, he said, call me Bennett. think that's what he says, and it was Call Me Bennett. But she like, no, you BJ, you'll forever be BJ. And I'm sure I've known BJs in my life, but once you become mature in the world, you can't help but associate BJ with something else. And I'm sure in the work world, he does not want to be associated with that thing that BJ could stand for. So I felt for bruh, but he invites them out. They're going to go somewhere afterwards and kind of like, continue to kick it or whatever. And this in the work world, really, those after parties, the after functions is really where you kind of get your growth in the company, because that's when you get all the tea. That's when you build the relationships. You get the insider knowledge. So Molly is like, oh, we having a good time. Let's go kick it. And Andrew's not feeling it. He's like, no, I'm good. This is a cute little event. We good here. And then I want to go back to the crib. So she talks him into hanging out longer or whatever. Okay, so next thing you know, they're back at her house. And someone pointed out that she had a photo of him up in the apartment. I did not remember that. So now I got to not only go back and look at that scene again, but I got to go back to last week's episode to see if he has any photos of her in his place. But I'm going to pause for a second to say this. If you look at the timeline, because I had to go back and look, and I had to remember that one, Tiffany was pregnant at Thanksgiving still, I believe. She hadn't had the baby yet. Okay, so she hadn't had the baby yet, I don't think, at Thanksgiving. And then if you go back to Coachella, which is when Molly and Andrew met. But they just met then. Because remember, Molly was afraid to go get her coat. So season 4, episode 1. 4 months before the block party. Okay, so that's when her and Andrew kind of were really on their first date. So it's been 4 months. And it's Thanksgiving. So it hasn't even been 4 months yet. Because the block party is in January. So I do some math. Okay. January, December, November. So it's only been 2 months. I'm lying. Y'all, my math is real wrong. So block party was 4 months. And then since the block party, it's been probably about another 2 months or so. So they might have been dating for about 6 months. Is that too soon for her to have a photo of him in her apartment? I don't think it is, but I think it is if they have not discussed the state of their relationship, how long term they want it to be. I digress. I was real wrong on what I was going to say, so ignore all of that. Anywho, they're there. She's getting undressed. He's pulling off the shoes. He's tired. He's like, okay, we ready to get into this Looking for Latoya marathon. And he's like, I just stay away from spoilers. Just so we can go ahead and watch this. And so she's like, I'm tired. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And she's like, oh, you really going to watch it without me? Now, I know that energy. That is my husband and I on a regular, because I will always get him started with a show. And then I fall asleep on the show. And then he stays awake and keeps watching it. And the next thing I know, he done watched the whole first season. And I'm only on episode 3. So now I got to go back and find time on my own to watch it. Because I'll be like, oh, you ready to watch it? Oh, well, I finished it. Ninja, please. Anyhow, so he basically starts to grunt and screw his face up, and it's like, we always do what you want to do. We don't ever do what I want to do. So I want to watch Looking for Latoya, but you want to get some rest, so now we can't watch Looking for Latoya. But I went to your little event when I could have been home sooner and we wouldn't have been so tired or whatever. Pause. Y'all had to pause on the second viewing, because this is the first time I watched it was without my husband. The second time I watched it with my husband. I said, if they don't stop with this matchy stuff with Molly and give her some patterns. And she had a red top and then the red skirt, but then they were 2 shades of red. So when she was at the place, I thought it was a dress, and I just saw the top. And then when I saw her walking full body, I was like, she got red and red, but it's 2 different shades of red. I mean, I guess that'd be cute somewhere out there, but I didn't like it. Okay, so I digress. So they start to talk about that, and Molly feels like, well, first off, you didn't like it when I was trying to like get my work stuff done. I'm trying to include you with my work stuff. Now you don't want to be included with my work stuff. I can't figure you out. And she's not understanding that the fact that like she's having to make space for him. She's not really prioritizing their relationship. And so he's like, I don't know, maybe we should. But in the midst of all of that, she keeps getting a phone call. Well, who is it? It's Kelli. So she hangs up the first time. Kelli calls again. All right, so she answers the phone, and lo and behold, her face drops, and we all know what's coming, because only one reason Kelli could be calling, and it has to do with Tiffany. Next thing we know, Molly is walking into, Tiffany and Derek's place, I guess, and Kelli is there, and Tiffany has gone missing. They have not seen this girl for a whole 24 hours, and so it is mirroring. It's like looking for LaToya, we're looking for Tiffany. So one of the things we know, that title episode is the Lowkey lost. So who's lost? Tiffany's lost. They have to find her. Now, if you picked up on the two times really, when we've seen mention of Tiffany in this season, one right after she had the baby, I think this is like episode 5, right after the Thanksgiving episode, and then in the Black Party episode, or episode 4 and episode 5, we have, sorry, my dog is sounding like a whole horse over here. I don't know what's going on. We know that she has been showing inklings of dealing with PPD, or postpartum depression. So Derek starts talking about, he didn't realize things were that bad. So they decide they're going to go out and they're going to actually look for her. So physically they get on the bus route. They're out looking for Tiffany. Well, they go to the movies that she was supposed to have gone to. They start looking around, showing her picture, asking for her. Then they go to a bar that she went to. They see that she was at the bar. So then they trace her to a Lyft. So then they trace her to a Mexican restaurant. So then they look at the surveillance camera. So they spend about 20 minutes this episode looking for Tiffany. Now, it was good because Amanda Seales has not had any screen time as Tiffany really this season. And she didn't get anything. She was only in one scene. I'm torn because I felt like they spent that 20 minutes, that time that we could have been spent unpacking Molly and Issa and Lawrence, Molly and Andrew, the main storylines that we've been following for this season. And so I was kind of frustrated that we spent so much time looking physically for Tiffany. But anyhow, finally, they get the surveillance and they find out that she gets on a bus, and because of the time that she called Derek, she has to be somewhere in the vicinity. So they catch the bus and they're calling all the major hotels that are along the bus route. So they're calling on the phone, not getting answers, not getting information. Kelli is trying to get some information. So finally they get some information about where she is. She's at the Sheraton. So they drive past the Sheraton. They go to the bus driver. Bus driver's like, don't walk past my line. And it's, you got Kelli. Anytime you have Kelli in the scene, you know that even if you're going to get serious discussion around a topic, you're going to get playfulness and joy. And we just loved it. We need more Kelli. Can we just give Kelli her own show? I feel like that would just be like that black girl joy that we love. And then if you bring Amal over to the show, then you get that black boy joy. It would be beautiful, anyhow. So the bus driver's like, no, we can't stop, we got a couple of blocks to the stop. It's like, we're at a red light, just stop now. So then they see the button for the hit the brake to open the door. She's like, so what if I hit the button? He's like, don't hit my button. Issa over her shoulder, hit the button. That face that she made when she's like, hit the button, it about took me slam out. Kelli hits the button, they hop off the bus. Next thing you know, he sees some cops. The bus driver sees some cops. He starts shouting out to the cops. Now, I'm trying to figure out how they cut this scene because they were in the midst of traffic. They might have been along the side of the street, but I'm trying to figure out, you just got finished saying you couldn't stop. Next thing you know, they're running, they're booking it, trying to get to the Sheraton. Next thing you know, the cops are there. This dude who was trying to be Kelli's gay BFF, I guess, or whatever, was there. He had another woman was with him. They're there and they're like, they were assaulting that man. Now, ain't nobody assault nobody. And being everything that is going on in the world right now, I don't know about y'all, but my heart almost stopped beating. Like, it almost like paused a beat and dropped into my stomach, because first of all, they start like threatening Kelli with like tasing her. Kelly's like, you tase me, I've been tased. Derek's like, yeah, but you peed on yourself when you got tased at Coachella, because Kelli told me, so let's not do that. And she was like aggressively threatening like for them to do something, and I was like, Kelli, please just stop, like y'all just can't, like. And I was like, oh my god, are they about to kill Kelli? Y'all, I literally had to pause and was like, take a breath before I watch it, because I was like, if they kill Kelli, I'm done. And especially because Issa had already kind of like hyped everybody up by saying like we weren't going to be happy at the end of this episode. I was like, oh my lord, like, is this what we're about to get? Thankfully, Molly pulls out the I'm their attorney, Molly Carter, and why are you questioning us and not them? And then the white officer came with the energy we needed, and he said, nope, not today. I'm not going to be the one on the news. You go back to where we're not going to, for stopping a bus. No, y'all go back to where you came from. Y'all go back and handle your business. Well, Kelly's still amped up, so she's trying to talk back. And then finally she's like, but thank you for your service, and they keep on going. I thought that could have ended another way, y'all. And I was like, Lord, are we going to end this episode? Especially being that at the beginning of the episode, and if you tie it together, how they tried to play us, Issa was asking about the difference between funeral flowers versus fun flowers. And it begs a question of like, when something is dead versus something that brings you joy, do you always know the difference? Think about that. So they get to the hotel. They finally go up to the room. I know a lot of people in the comments were like talking about in the discussion group, they thought that they're going to knock on the door and Tiffany was going to have a dude in the room. I didn't think that, but that would have been, I'm glad. I think that that's a way they could have played it, but I'm glad that they didn't, because already people are having the wrong POVs about why Tiffany did what she did. Like, I saw people calling it irresponsible and selfish. No, she was dealing with postpartum depression. She was overwhelmed dramatically, and she needed a breather, and she did not know how to vocalize that to her spouse, which we all go through things that we don't know how to vocalize. And the same thing can be said for Nathan. People wanted to say, oh, well, he shouldn't have ghosted. He should have just told her what was going on. People don't always know how to express, especially when it's one thing when it's like, oh, I'm sad. I'm sad today. Today was not a good day, so let me complain about it. It's another thing when you're going through it and it's like ongoing and it's all encompassing and it's overwhelming. You don't know how to, you may not always have the words to express your pain. And so I sympathize with Tiffany and with Nathan. I can see why, both of them had these instances with mental health where they didn't express to their loved one what was going on. And so Derek knocks on the door. The girls kind of hang back, and you can see like they're looking like on the edge. Like, is she gonna be in there? Knock on the door, and here comes Tiffany. And it's Tiffany as we've never seen her on this show. We have never seen Tiffany with her natural hair on this show, without any makeup on the show, without long nails on the show. She is completely just unvarnished. She's just out the shower, just nothing masking her pain. And she comes to the door and she just kind of crumples into Derek's arms, and you can see Kelli's face is like broken for her friend. So they found Tiffany. Hopefully, I haven't listened to the podcast yet. I don't know if they found Latoya yet, because apparently they didn't find that Toyota yet, but hopefully they found Latoya. And that ends that part of the show. So that was like the bulk of the show. So then everybody's got to return back, dealing with this crisis. So the next thing we see is Molly is back at Andrew's place, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm tired, and it's been a lot. And he's asking about Tiffany, and he's concerned. And then she's like, but I still want to talk about what we were talking about, because if we don't talk about it, then it's just going to fester between us. And he's just like, I don't think that this is supposed to be this hard. And so she then now she's willing to, and the threat of losing him, make concessions. I'll meet with your brother. I'll do this. I'll do that. Things that she was not willing to do naturally on her own. And he's like, I just don't think it should be this hard. Like, I think he didn't want to get to the point where he had to, I don't want to say threat, because I don't think he is just threatening her for the sake of threatening her. I don't think he's making it seem like, oh, I'm going to give you an ultimatum of us breaking up. I don't think he wanted to do that. I think this is genuine, like, you have shown me who you are, and I don't think that that's the kind of person I gel with, and I don't think we belong together, and either I'm going to change you or you're going to change me. And I don't know that that's something that I want at this point in my life. I feel like that's really what he was saying, because she starts to make all these concessions of things she's willing to do. And he's like, but it shouldn't be this hard. Like, it shouldn't be, we're not even at the, and relationships are hard. They are hard. And you got two people, and it is a choice. You have to be willing to choose whether you're willing to work for it. As Dr. Rhonda said, do you want to be in a relationship, or do you want to be right? And to be in a relationship, you have to be willing to not be right all the time, or to at least make concessions. And she, meaning Molly, glasses are crazy, y'all, is not willing to do that until we get to this point where Andrew is like, maybe we should just let this go. And then finally he says, what is it that we're trying to work for? Like, what is it that you are trying to get from this? And she never answers. And so I definitely think they are done. I don't think it's going to be like maybe they'll come back. Maybe like Issa and Lawrence, they can get some time apart, come back to each other. But I think Andrew means what he says, and we can see time and time again where even people who want to say like, well, he was close off to her, but then he came back and he apologized and he opened up a little bit, right? And in opening up a little bit about himself, what did he do? He introduced her to his family. He tried to make sure that she knew what was important to him. And he tried to make all these concessions, and she really wasn't able to make. I mean, even down to dinner, like they wanted to have Indian food. They obviously discussed having Indian food, and then she just went and got something completely different and didn't like call him or notify him or anything and say, hey, I'm just gonna completely change the menu from what we discussed. Like, she's not ready to be in a relationship. She hasn't done the work to say what she's willing to do, and not say give up, but to compromise with, because you do have to compromise. No two people are exactly alike, so you're going to always be somewhat out of step with someone, and you're going to have to say, what's the work I'm willing to do to stay in step with this person, or what am I willing to let them lead on? What am I willing to lead on? And Molly just ain't ready for that yet. She's just not ready. So goodbye to Asian Bae. It has been, nice to see you, nice to know you. I don't know if he will be back on the show next season. I like Andrew a lot, so I hope so. I think he could be good for Molly if she allows him to be. But I also understand that sometimes it wouldn't be fair for him to give up all of himself, waiting for her to grow up. All right, so next we hop over to Issa's place, and Issa is decompressing from being up all night, being worried about her friend, and then they finally find her, and whatever work was needed to get done to make sure that she went and got help at that point. So she's up, she's at her place, and gets a knock on the door. Here comes Lawrence. And so I'm thinking like he's coming to check on her or what have you, but he has this look on his face. Y'all, I know y'all saw this episode, so don't even, all this talking that we're doing right now is just, me telling you what I've noticed about it. But Why did they give us this med school in Derwin? I know why. Because it happens. I'm frustrated because, again, if they had only just if they had just let Issa take her little walk home on episode 8 and walk her tail home and be good and have closure, I was happy. At the end. She was walking and she like, I got some, and now I have peace, and now I understand what went wrong on both sides, and we're good. And then they had to give us episode 9 and be all lovey, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't even talk about Issa going over to Nathan's and having the conversation with Nathan this episode about finally getting a chance to see his space. They played us because in the preview they made it kind of seem like maybe there was going to be some issue there, but there wasn't. He really is mature. We're getting to see his maturity and his unwillingness to let Issa go from his life, that he's willing to sacrifice how he feels for her and trying to make her feel comfortable about that so that it doesn't jeopardize their friendship. And I appreciate the heck out of that. Don't think it's smart. I don't think that if she chooses to stay with Lawrence, they will be able to maintain that. But I can appreciate that he's like, I value your friendship and you being in my life, and I'm not willing to lose that. So don't worry about me. That was wrong. And he apologizes for how he everything people were complaining about from last week about how he talked about Lawrence. He apologized for. And then Lawrence walks in and says, Condole is pregnant, y'all. I felt my Florida Evans, damn, coming in out of my spirit. So, Condole is pregnant. Issa Rae acted her tail off because you could see the hurt in her. You could see every dream just wisping out of her brain in that moment, like everything. And so Condole is pregnant. She's keeping the baby and having my baby. She's having the baby, and Lawrence does not know what this means, and Issa is just like, this is too much. And we're gonna pause for a second, because a lot of people in the comments are saying crazy stuff. One thing is, we can talk about the show, we can analyze the deeper conversations they're wanting us to have. Like, obviously, all with this whole season, they're really wanting us to have these deep conversations about medical health, right, and medical well-being. Going to get therapy. We have Molly needing to get therapy to unpack her issues. Issa wanting to get therapy, but saying she would go, but she doesn't have access to it. I think that was in season 2 or 3 when she actually says that. Nathan, obviously, going to get therapy at the point where he went back home, was able to get therapy and find out and get his diagnosis. And then Tiffany, who probably had access to it, but did not have the voice to articulate that was what's wrong, and neither did her husband, because he did not recommend, even his little diatribe about the things he tried to do for her. Going to the doctor was never a part of that discussion that he mentioned. He never mentions, I told her to go see someone, or we went to go see someone. So we can talk about this discussion about mental health, what it means to the Black community, what it means to generation X. Well, I guess these would be like the millennials, because they're a little bit younger than me. Millennial generation and all that kind of stuff. But what we can't do is we cannot start making things up that are not evidenced in the show. And so there were a ton of people online who were sitting there talking about Condole is running a game on him. She makes more money than him. She's more established than him. How is she running a game on him? She's trying to get him back. I'm pretty clear that we saw a whole conversation take place at Thanksgiving that said, 1, she did not want to get married. She genuinely did not want that. 2, that although he wasn't her F-boy, that she was just looking to have fun and have a good time. And it seemed like disillusion of their relationship seemed like it was somewhat mutual, in that he wants X, Y, Z for his life, and she did not want those things, and so they decided to part ways. Okay, well then, how is it that she got pregnant? Lawrence sat there and said, I thought we were being careful. I thought we were being careful, which tells me he was not probably wearing contraceptive every single time that they had intercourse. That means that he, to me, by those words, well, we can read into his words, because otherwise you say, I was careful, like I wore protection. He didn't use those words. He said, I thought we were being careful. And that's the kind of language that is often used to infer that the woman is on birth control. Birth control is not 100%. And I mean, people need to understand how it works. It's not 100%, but it's also not 100% unless you are taking your pill at a certain time of day around the exact same time. Like, you need to be doing it in the same time frame. You can't be like, oh, I missed this morning and I'm going to take it at night, and now you're like, that's not how it works. Also, we have to talk about the fact that if she's taking a pill or if she has an implant, well, I know plenty of people who have gotten pregnant with an implant. Those are not 100%, and sperm can, if it doesn't die, if they're really strong, can swim around those things and can swim through those things, and it can happen. And if she's on a pill, you're not talking about, the pill is just simply administering hormones. Well, everybody's body types are different and everybody's hormone levels are different. So you might have a woman with a lot of estrogen, and whatever is in that pill that is kind of like bringing that down to where she's not going to be, the egg won't be fertilized. It may not be the same for each woman. So they have low doses and high doses, and what if she's not on the correct doses? It's all very it's a lot of guesswork, and it's not an exact science. So there's tons of reasons why birth control does not work. It is not 100% the fault of her. It's not 100% the fault of him. There's a whole thing where I've known people who use protection and birth control, and that things still happen. Okay, and it doesn't sound like, honestly, from what we know about Lawrence, it doesn't sound as though he was being 100% protected in his use of protection. And I think that if you are not married to someone and you are having sex with them and you are choosing not to use contraceptive in the form of condoms to prevent disease and birth control, then you are being dumb. Both people, because you are not in under a contractual state where you're saying this person is only going to be with me first and foremost. We know that happens even inside the bonds of marriage, but you definitely don't have that going on anyway. And then on top of it, you are trusting that this person is going to be 100% able to take this medication in a way where you're trusting basically part of your future, because that baby is the product of both people, to another person solely. Why would you do that? That would be like me saying to somebody, like actually literally giving them one of my kids and saying, here's my kid. I want you to take care of my kid, but I'm not going to give you any resources to help you take care of my kid. And when I come back, I expect my kid to be fed, clothed, and taken care of, and none of that is my responsibility. That's not how the world works. If I want somebody to take care of my child, usually I'm going to pay them to make sure that they do as good of a job as I would do, and I know that it's never going to be as good as me because I am their mom. It's the same thing, men out here in these streets. I'm telling you, it's the same thing with your seed. You are entrusting, you are giving your seed to someone who is not your spouse, and you are trusting them to honor that seed or to take care of that seed in a way that will not produce a human. And the only place that your seed is safe that it won't produce a human is in your body or in the toilet. I'm just going to put it out there. So people who are saying it's her fault, she's trying to scam him. No, I don't think it's that. I think she got pregnant and that baby is a part of her, and she probably views it as a living being, and she does not want to get an abortion, and he cannot ask that of her. You can't ask that of her. So she's having a baby. and you're having a baby. And that's why everybody needs to, before you sit down, it needs to be, we got to go past beyond the consent contracts. It needs to be a consent contract. And if I get pregnant off of this exchange of fluids that lead to pregnancy, this is what we agree to do about the situation. That discussion has to be had. And people just are out here in these streets being wild and crazy. And let me tell you, there are oopses. I love my number 2, but he was a oops. He wasn't an oops to my husband, but he was oops to me. Now you ask yourself, how does that work? So Issa is now shocked and distraught. And we get to the end of the show, and we see her pull up to, I think it's Mercado. Is it Mercado or Mercat? I don't know, the Ethiopian restaurant that they go to all the time. And of course, we know as soon as she goes to we only ever see her at the Ethiopian restaurant with Molly. So we know who's going to be there. So we see Molly, and Molly says to her, "I'm glad you came." And she says, "I'm glad you called." And so I think there was a significance in the choice of words there, because finally Molly was willing to reach out to her and not the other way around. The thing that I hate about that is it seems like that is contingent on her loss of this person. And so where we saw, going back to episode 2, I think, with the whole Condole, Issa, Molly exchange that took place there, is it seems to be a larger problem with Molly, where she doesn't know how to be in relationship with multiple people. And I don't mean by like a romantic relationship. I mean, she did not know how to properly balance Andrew and Issa in her life without there being drama. Even before the block party, there was so much drama and tension between her and Issa that to me seemed really rooted in her having Andrew in her life. Because when we go back to the last season and Nathan's ghosting, they didn't really have that tension at that point. Things were pretty okay at that point, and then she scares Nathan away, and then she doesn't find out about it until much later. But there seems to be some tension where Molly just does not know how to balance people in her life. And so now we see Andrew gone, so now she needs Issa back. Versus it was kind of the same thing. The tension didn't start until Issa started to befriend Condole. And so my fear is that where people are throwing around the word like codependency, I do think that she has a codependency. She needs somebody in her life. I think it's not shocking that Issa showed up, because Issa was the one who wanted to mend the relationship. Even in the episode earlier when they're looking for Tiffany, Issa wanted to go with Molly to look for Tiffany, and Molly was like, let's split up. Now, from a logical standpoint, that makes sense. You're looking for somebody, we're going to split up. But from the sense of this girl is trying to find another reason to reconnect with you, you just say, okay, we'll just walk fast and let's just do it. Or you say, well, no, but let's talk later, or something. So we see them talking. We don't ever get a chance to see how that discussion goes. I don't know if next season will pick up at that moment so we can hear that discussion. I wanted to hear that discussion. That's a discussion I think we as fans of the show, we need to hear them have a healthy discussion about repairing their friendship, if that's what they're going to choose to do, or if we're going to come back and they're not going to be friends. But we need to hear a healthy discussion around that friendship and that relationship. Otherwise, the lessons that the show is trying to teach us about women's relationships with each other are not going to be fully fleshed out. So when we talk about low-key loss, Issa perhaps has lost Lawrence. Certainly her vision of how their life together would have been is now lost. Molly has lost Andrew. Tiffany has, lost her mind, but the facade that she has carried of being the strong, got it all together woman is now lost. And Lawrence has lost perhaps his opportunity to go to San Francisco, that he may not be able to do that now that he wants to stay in his child's life. He may have to give up that dream. We really don't even know everything that Lawrence has lost. And it's been a lot of loss in this. A lot of the steps taken forward have been lost in this episode. So definitely it's going to be a long and arduous wait for the next season. You know, this season was good. People are hating on the finale, but I don't like to say that they're recycling someone else's storyline, because I think that this genuinely made sense for the characters, especially if they wanted to keep certain characters and actors involved in the show. It makes sense for them to be involved that way. If they like the actress who plays Condole and they like the character and they want to keep the character on, there's no really other way to have her stay on and stay in the circle. She has to stay in Lawrence's life somehow, because that's how she's gotten to this point, really, just through Lawrence and Issa. So there's just certain things that have to happen, and there's conversations that have to be had, and unfortunately it could just be that, you know, Lawrence and Issa, they have gotten to this place where things are going well, but maybe they're just not meant to be for each other. Do I think that Issa should try and make things work with Lawrence and he has this baby? Okay, so this storyline reminds me a whole lot, in one sense, of Tabitha Brown and her husband Chance. If you've not seen Melissa and Kevin Frederick's The Love Hour interview with them, go there, because she talks about how they got together and the same thing kind of happened. And they're beautiful. They're a beautiful couple. I love them together. And so I think that Issa and Lawrence could work, and she is caring enough to make it work. But I would rather that not be the black love story that we see projected in this show. In this show, I would much rather see a very healthy, all the way through, without any kind of like taintedness, black love story. That seems really harsh to say, but that's kind of what I want to see reflected on TV, because I feel like we don't often get that. And I don't think the people out there who are like wishing that Condole would have a miscarriage, and y'all are crazy. Stop that. These good things, these are fictional characters, because y'all are some hateful people. Need to check your heart. But I don't know. That being said, I do think she's going to try to work it out with Lawrence. I do think, though, that there's a reason they're keeping Nathan on, and I like Nathan. I like Nathan a lot. So guys, let me know what you thought. What were your what's the biggest storyline from last night's episode that really just got you? What were you surprised by? What were you shocked? Are you still bad? How are you feeling? Tell me, are you okay? And I want to do a video later on in the week about the show, about the season, kind of as a recap, and like some of the most significant moments, and then just things that I think people are forgetting that took place. I think people are forgetting that whole episode 4 stuff or the episode after Thanksgiving. So I want to talk about, what did you miss? What did you miss in season 4? What did you miss? So I'm going to hopefully do that soon. But let me know down below in the comments what you thought. And I know this was a super long video, so I apologize, but it was the season finale and we have to talk about it and we have to do it justice. So please get down below in the comments and tell me what you thought. I'm going to post some questions up there to get y'all talking. And most importantly, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, toodles.